I was standing under a massive, flickering departures board in the middle of the night, somewhere in the Middle East, wishing for a bed when it hit me. I haven't been to church in years, but I've never felt more like a pilgrim than I do right now. We're told that religion is declining, that the sacred is disappearing from our modern, secular lives. But I think we've just moved the altars. We've traded the cathedral for the terminal. We've traded the hymnal for a digital boarding pass. It's all a ritual. By the end of this video, you'll see why your last flight was actually a spiritual exercise and why the heaven you're looking for might actually have a gate number and a boarding time. And trust me, what I learned halfway through a 44-hour transit changed how I view God's will forever. Welcome to the Altarless Traveler, a space for the spiritually curious, the questioners, and the deconstructors. Think about the ritual of the airport. You don't just walk onto a plane, you undergo a purification rite. And the scale of this congregation is staggering. In 2024, nearly 9.5 billion passengers move through these terminals globally. That is more than the entire population of the planet participating in the same global ritual of movement every single year. We might not be praying together, but we are definitely moving together. You take off your shoes, you surrender your liquids, and you walk through a scanner that sees right through you. These are the modern high priests of the TSA. They aren't checking your soul, but they are deciding if you are worthy to enter the sacred space beyond the barrier. I kept looking for the plastic bin where I was supposed to leave my nuance. And I'm not just being cynical here. According to the latest data, 30% of religious nuns say that a major reason they left was simply bad experiences with religious people. Turns out, when the town square feels more like a restricted zone, people eventually just stop trying to get in. We complain about the penance of the middle seat and the recycled air, but we endure it. Why? Because we believe in the payoff. And here's the fundamental shift for those of us who've left organized religion. In the pews, the payoff is always later. It's eventually. It's a huge cosmic if that requires you to die before you find out if any of it's true. But travel? Travel is faith beyond religion. When you buy a ticket, you aren't hoping for a metaphor. You are banking on a destination. It's spirituality with a GPS coordinates. It's the miracle of the arrival. And unlike the afterlife, this one actually shows up on your Instagram feed. The math actually backs this up. While traditional religious affiliation has taken a double-digit dive over the last decade, our collective focus on transformational travel is skyrocketing. According to 2026 projections, we aren't becoming less spiritual, we're just becoming more mobile. We're still looking for the same thing, clarity, peace, a reset, but we're trusting the terminal more than the tabernacle. When asked for their source of peace, 31% say the church, but 71% say nature. This shift isn't just about a change of scenery, it's about a change of source. We aren't losing our souls, we're just taking them on a hike. I've been to over 50 countries, but my most sacred moments did not happen in a cathedral. They happened traveling all over the world, one of them during a 44-hour slog from Dallas to Bali. Dallas to Seattle, Seattle to Japan, Japan to Jakarta, then finally Bali. It was a marathon of fluorescent lights, lukewarm snacks, and that dry recycled air that only exists at 30,000 feet. By the time we hit the third layover, my family was beyond exhausted. They were done. We were stuck in a terminal in the middle of the night, surrounded by thousands of strangers. So I did what any dad does. I built a fort. I piled our suitcases into a wall, created a little sanctuary on the carpet, and let them sleep in the middle. And I spent the night as the watchman. I stayed awake, making sure no one stole our things, making sure we weren't going to miss our flight, just keeping an eye out on them. I realized then that I wasn't just a traveler, I was a guardian. In that luggage fort, I felt a sense of purpose and protection that felt more divine than any sermon I'd ever heard. It wasn't about a plan from above. It was about the love right there on the floor of Terminal 3. It was a moment of absolute presence. Sometimes you have to lose the holy ground of the church to realize that the ground you're standing on, even a sticky airport carpet, is already sacred because of who you're standing there with. So, is the airport the new cathedral? Maybe, but we aren't there to worship a deity. We're there to worship the possibility of what if, the possibility of transformation. For those of you who feel a bit lost after leaving the fold, I want to offer you this. The awe you felt in those old buildings wasn't a lie. It was just a preview. The world is vast, it is beautiful, and it is waiting for you to check in. We aren't running from ourselves in a borderless loop. We are moving toward a version of the sacred that we can actually touch, breathe, and taste. So if you are navigating that heavy, quiet in-between, the space between the faith you left and the meaning you're still trying to find, you are not alone. I promise you, you are not alone. Remember that the most sacred thing isn't the destination, it's the movement. If you're a fellow wanderer finding meaning in the movement, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I'd really like to hear in what places do you find sacred. Thank you, and keep the faith.